Hey guys, so here is just a quick how do we do some piecewise functions. These are not the exact questions that are on your worksheet because I want to actually show you what's going on so that you could do it. So I'm going to go in. My question says f of x is happening in two different pieces. The first piece is negative 2x minus 1 when x is less than or equal to 2. And the second part is negative x plus 4 when x is greater than 2. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look over here and think, all right, where is my dividing line? And the way that I find my dividing line is by looking at this part, the part where it says x is less than or equal to, or x is equal to, x is greater than. What's going on in that spot? So because I look at that, it says my dividing line is at 2. So I'm going to grab a colored line, and so that I know that this line doesn't really exist, I'm putting it on this graph just so I can figure out, all right, where does stuff shift? So I just put that pink line at x equals 2. Then what I know is that there's two different things happening. This right here says that I have 2x minus 1. And then I look to the right of that. It says that's what's happening when x is less than or equal to 2. So that's this side of that pink line. So it's everything to the left. I know that because it says so, because x is less than or equal to 2. So from there, what I've got to do is figure out, all right, on this side, the yellow side of the line, my line looks like negative 2x minus 1. So because I have an x-intercept, like the y, your y-axis is over here, I can look right here and say, hey, my x-intercept is negative 1. My y-intercept is negative 1. So I look and, well, that's within the yellow side, so I'm going to put my dot at negative 1. Then it says my slope is negative 2, which means I go down to right 1, down to right 1. Now that means I hit the line right here when x is negative, or when y is negative 5, x is 2. So it hits that line at 2 to negative 5. It's taking a moment for that to show up. So at 2, negative 5, that's where it hits that line. I made an open circle right now, and then I'm going to draw this line. See how amazingly straight that is? It's not straight, but pretend that it is, okay? So I look at that circle and I think, do I open the circle or close the circle? Well, how would I know? I know by looking right there, and it says when x is less than or equal to 2, it's this line. Well, that hits 2, or I could do negative 2 times 2 is negative 4 minus 1, 2, 5. So this right here is just a point on that line right there. So since this says equal to, I'm going to fill that in. That's a nice little dot there. Okay, so I'm done with everything to the left of 2. Now I've got to figure out what's to the right of blue. So I'm going to highlight there to the left. Oh my gosh. What is to the right of that line? So I look, and everywhere to the right of that line is negative x plus 4. So if I was graphing that whole thing, I see my y-intercept is 4. Except, does that really help me? It doesn't really help me a ton right now. So what I'm going to do is say, well, I know that this starts at this pink line, which is when x is 2. So I'm going to figure out if I plugged into my equation, negative x plus 4, what if I plugged 2 into that right there? So that means negative 2 plus 4. So when x is 2, then y is 2 as well. So it kind of hits this line at 2, 2, which is right here. So I'm going to draw a circle around it. Now, do I fill in that circle or no? The answer is no, because right here It says x is greater than. It doesn't say x is equal to, so that's an open circle. Now I've got to figure out, all right, what is my slope? Well, my slope lives right here. It's -1, which means I go down one, right one, down one, right one, down one, right one. And so I can see that amazingly perfect line again. I stink at drawing perfect lines on here. But do you see how I mean that to go down one, right one, down one, right one, down one, right one? There you go. So I've got everything to the left of my original line, everything to the right of my original line, and there's different things going on when I do that. All right, let's try another one. I will speak more slowly so that I don't mess up my words. Holy cow, there's 3 things going on in this one. All right, do you see that there's some dividing lines in this one? Hopefully you see that you've got a dividing line at -2 and a dividing line at +2. So I'm going to go and draw those in with my pink, and I'm going to make it a little bit thinner this time. So at x equals -2, I've got a line. Now remember, this pink line isn't actually here. It's just there to keep me organized. So do you see that there's now 3 parts of the graph? Okay. So I'm going to start. This right here says x is less than or equal to -2. So that's everything over on this side of the graph. Okay. It says everywhere over there that no matter what x is, y is -4. But where's the x? Oh, you're right. There isn't one. Okay. So I'm going to start at -2. And my answer is always 4. So I start here and there. Now, I'm going to move that up a little bit so it works. Oh, look at much more perfect line. You'll notice that I have a closed circle at the x equals -2. Why is it a closed circle? Well, because if I go back over here, it tells me that when x is less than or equal to -2, that's what happens. Okay, now there's another part. So I'll use green for that. So that's in the middle here. In the middle, something different is happening. This is what's happening in the middle. Now, on those lines that used to be pink, my dotted lines that I put in that aren't technically there, do they count for this one? And the answer is no. You would have open circles at both of those places for this one because, see right there, they're just less than. So inside of there, x is going to be -2. Well, do you see how the y-axis is on here? So I know that my y-intercept is at -2, so I'm going to put a little dot there. And then my slope is up 1 over 1 because it's 1x. So up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So it goes like this and goes right there. And it ends right here. And so then I've got that middle piece. But I left an open circle there because it wasn't equal. All right, last one. I'm going to do that in blue. So over here, over to the right, I've got one more thing going on. So let's see. At x is 2, what does this whole thing equal out to be? Well, I'm just going to say at 2, so -2 times 2 plus 4, that's 0, right? So at the point 2, when x is 2, y is 0. So, oh, look, I've already got a dot there. And then from there, I'm going to go down to right 1, down to right 1. There we go. Now I can fill this dot in, not because it got filled in the first time, but because it got filled in the second time. Wahoo, that was amazing piecewise functions going on there.